So yesterday I talked to you about the wild Supreme Court justice ruling that nationwide injunctions weren't allowed unless there was class action or a state attorney general filing the suit. And I told you that Justice Ketanji Brown-Jackson had a scathing dissent that was brilliant and necessary, and it warned of what the Supreme Court was headed towards under this right-wing Supreme Court. And then I mentioned that Amy Coney Barrett responded to Justice Jackson's dissent in a very rude and condescending and, in my opinion, racist way. So I mentioned I thought you guys should, go look for it, so on and so forth. But I decided to read part of Justice Jackson's dissent and go over some of what Coney Barrett had to say in response, which is unprecedented. They don't attack each other. Like, it's decorum. They don't do that. So the court will make a ruling, the majority wins, and then the other side will dissent, basically saying why they disagree with the ruling, so on and so forth. And then that's the end of it. But Coney Barrett decided that she was going to go ahead and try to condescend and basically insult another justice, which is completely unheard of and ridiculous, and frankly pretty racist, because she didn't decide to say anything to Justice Sotomayor, who also dissented, but she attacked Justice Jackson. So wonder why. So this is a little bit of what Justice Jackson had to say. She said, "It is important to recognize that the executive's bid to vanquish so-called universal injunctions is at bottom a request for the court's permission to engage in unlawful behavior. When the government says do not allow the lower courts to enjoin executive action universally as a remedy for unconstitutional conduct, what he's actually saying is that the executive wants to continue doing something that a court has determined violates the Constitution. Please allow this." That is some solicitation. With its ruling today, the majority largely grants the government's wish. But in my view, if this country is going to persist as a nation of laws and not men, the judiciary has no choice but to deny it. So that was pretty powerful, because basically they're just kind of just granting him kingship. They just kinged him. So Newsweek wrote an article about it titled "Amy Coney Barrett's rebukes Ketanji Brown-Jackson's extreme opinion." They seem to be slanted towards the right as well, and I'm a little bit disappointed, because I always thought that they were either unbiased or left-leaning. So I guess I'm wrong. So the article reads, "Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett took aim at Justice Ketanji Brown-Jackson's dissenting opinion in Trump versus Casa ruling related to President Donald Trump's birthright citizenship executive order," which, like I said yesterday, they didn't even address. Why it matters. The court handed down its decision in the birthright citizenship case, one of its most significant in the current term on Friday. The 6-3 decision does not weigh in on the legality of birthright citizenship, which is the reason the suit was brought to them. So they just completely ignored that. The idea, which ensures that children born in the United States are U.S. citizens regardless of whether their parents are. Instead, it delivered a procedural victory to the Trump administration, ruling that federal judges do not have the authority to issue nationwide injunctions that go beyond relief for one individual plaintiff's case. It's a win for Trump. Okay, so basically, it says here, Barrett wrote the majority opinion, which sided with the Trump administration. In her ruling, the conservative justice said her liberal colleague's position is difficult to pin down. She might be arguing, this is a quote, "She might be arguing that universal injunctions are appropriate, even required, whenever the defendant is part of the executive branch," Barrett wrote. If so, her position goes far beyond the mainstream defense of universal injunctions. Barrett went on to describe the dissent as more extreme still, and said that Jackson's opinion is at odds with more than 2 centuries of worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself, unquote. Quote, "We observe only this. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary," which is completely unfounded accusation. The courts have their role, and their role is to defend the Constitution and to stop an executive that's out of control and trying to become king and defying the Constitution. That is their job. So they're not becoming empirical by holding him accountable. She never said that when they sided with all the injunctions against Biden. All of a sudden, now that it's against Trump, now they're trying to be, kings, the judiciary, her colleagues. Let's see. So when the government says do not allow the lower courts to enjoin executive action universally as a remedy for unconstitutional conduct, which is actually saying is that the executive wants to continue doing something that the court has determined violates the Constitution. So, I mean, where was she being? Where's the error? What did she say that was wrong? This is just ridiculous. So the other thing I wanted to read was a little piece of a Reddit forum post where this person kind of wrote what I was feeling. So bear with me. I know this is a long video. Appearing on MSNBC's The Weekend's Slate legal analyst Mark Joseph Stern called Coney Barrett's personal attack arrogant and out of bounds. I agree. Addressing Brown Jackson's dissent, he told the host, I think Jackson's blow was clearly landed here, and Barrett responded with what I do agree is a far too personal retort that accuses Jackson of not really being smart enough. I think to levy a strong criticism of her opinion. That's totally out of bounds. It's highly unusual, and even when the justices disagree, they usually do so respectfully, but she did not do. And here, Barrett is going much further, and I think the reason is why is really obvious, right? He continued, Justice Jackson's dissent is one of the sharpest, fiercest, most blunt dissents we've ever seen. She has taken the Supreme Court as an institution and the conservative supermajority. It's one of several dissents she published this term where she accused the supermajority of the right of bias toward the Trump administration, of surrendering the rule of law so that Trump can rule as a king. So I think this is spot on. It was disrespectful. It was out of the ordinary, and I'm very disappointed. Tell me what you think in the comments. It looks like my videos are suppressed. I had a strike back in, I think, January that I appealed, and they approved the appeal. But if you look at my account and look at the view counts, they're dismal. So if you could help me, I'd really, really appreciate it. Please comment what you think about this. Do you think she was it's racism because she didn't respond to anyone else that way? And this has never happened in history, and this is the only time that we have a black female justice on the Supreme Court. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please share and comment and like the video. Thank you so much.